confronted with many challenges. Yet these challenges provide an opportunity for both public and private sector to work with an innovative, multifaceted approach to ensure unhindered energy supply to the ever-growing customer base. Quite appropriately, the theme of this year's conference is Fueling the Future, Reliable and Affordable Energy for All. Friends, Petroleum Ministerial of Pakistan is led by a team of hugely experienced and adept professionals who are working towards promoting the development of Pakistan's energy sector through policy advocacy, capacity building, research, publications, seminars, workshops, and conferences. For this year's welcome address, we will now play a video recording of Chairman PIP, Ali Murtaza Abbas. Please.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is truly an honor and privilege to be addressing this August gathering today. Let me start by telling you a little bit about the Pakistan Institute of Petroleum. It is one of the premier think tanks in the country that encompasses people and professionals from the upstream, midstream, and downstream industry. We come together to be able to forge policies that are advantageous to our industry. We also focus on trying to address the challenges that our industries face. And last but not the least, we also hold a number of workshops and trainings where we are able to pass on knowledge from one generation to another. Today is one of those symposiums and seminars where we hope to address a number of challenges that now are faced by our industry. Pakistan is going through a deeply challenging era, and we as an industry would like to always play our part and our role. What the industry of upstream, downstream, and midstream, it touches the core of every household, every family, every industry in the country. And changes to the policy and the way we operate are felt throughout the country. Now, I'd like to start with some of the highlights that have been forged in the last year or so. So first of all, I think that a lot of work went to making the refining policy, which was made by the inclusion of the entire stakeholders in this particular regard. But I would really like to take a couple of names. I felt that the Director General Oil, the PARCO management, the ARL management, that sat together and were able to forge this policy. I know that there are certain refinements that are taking place, but I really think that this is a very good step in the right direction. Similarly, I'd like to talk about certain developments in the upstream sector, where we are faced with a number of challenges such as trade receivables and circular debt. And I think that the new policy, which has been approved by the CCI, which is the third-party sales policy of 35-65, is once again a step in the right direction. We'd like to take a little credit that it was MOL Pakistan as an operator that sold the first business-to-business gas sales of Mami Hill South, which enabled business-to-business gas transactions to move forward. This is extremely encouraging because it will negate the impact of trade receivables and circular debt in the country and allow the NOCs, the state-owned companies, and the private industry to be able to manage their profits in a way which is sustainable. Similarly, the tight cat policy, which has also been formalized, is also a step in the right direction and opens up new avenues and will usher in foreign direct investment and also enhance the gas production in the country. And last but not the least, I believe that this endeavors will increase the foreign direct investment coming into the country. As some of you may know, PIP holds a number of conferences and takes part in a number of seminars abroad where we act as ambassadors of the country. We work closely with the embassy, we work closely with the commercial attaches and the councillors to be able to project the policies and investor-friendly initiatives of the government to enable foreign direct investment into the country. And as a result, we took part last year in EDIPEC. We hope to do so again. We managed the Pakistan Pavilion. Again, here I'd really like to thank our sponsors that have enabled us to do so. And again, the sponsors for today's event. I'd look towards OGDCL, PPL in particular in this regard. And I'd also take this opportunity and privilege to request the government of Pakistan to look after the investors that are already in the country. Because if you can manage their expectations and resolve their problems, they will become the best ambassadors in the globe to be able to attract further investment into the country. So once again, let me thank the audience for being here, the organizers, and I hope that it's going to be a very successful seminar, and I hope to have many more of these in the near future. Thank you very much. Pakistan, Paindabad.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'll screen the video recording of Dr. Musaddiq Malik, Federal Minister for Petroleum, who was supposed to be here, who had graciously accepted to be the chief guest, but he had to fly out to China for an official assignment. But he will be here on Zoom link throughout the day to listen to today's proceedings. But right now we'll play his video recording for this specially recorded for this PEC conference. Please.
तीनों हजरात और इस कॉन्फ्रेंस की इंतज़ामिया, सबसे पहले मैं आप सब लोगों का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूं कि आपने मुझे दावत दी इस कॉन्फ्रेंस पे। मेरी बड़ी ख्वाहिश थी कि मैं ज़ाती तौर पे इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में शरीक होता, लेकिन वज़ीर आज़म का एक दौरा है चीन का, उनके साथ मुझे जाना पड़ा। इसके लिए मैं बहुत माज़रत ख़्वाह हूँ। मैं आपके सामने हाज़िर हूँ इस वीडियो पैगाम के ज़रिए, लेकिन मैं कोशिश करूँगा कि अगर हमारी कनेक्टिविटी चीन से हो गई तो मैं एक या दो मुख्तलिफ मौक़े पे शिरकत करने की ज़ाती तौर पे कोशिश करूँगा इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में। मैं बुनियादी तौर पे आपके सामने मुकदमा ये रखना चाहता हूँ कि पाकिस्तान के 3 मसाइल हैं तवानाई के हवाले से। पहला मसला है रसाई का या एक्सेस का, दूसरा मसला है अफोर्डेबिलिटी का, और तीसरा मसला है सस्टेनेबिलिटी का। पहले रसाई की बात कर लेते हैं या एक्सेस की बात कर लेते हैं। देखिए, पाकिस्तान की एक बड़ी आबादी है, तकरीबन 23-24 करोड़ लोग हैं और ये बढ़ रहे हैं, और 2050 तक प्रोजेक्शंस ये हैं कि तकरीबन 35 करोड़ लोग हो जाएंगे। और अगर आप देखें हमारी आबादी की शक्ल, यानी उसकी हैयत देखें, तो आपको पता चलेगा कि बेशतर लोग जो हैं वो नौजवान हैं। नौजवान होने का मतलब है वो घर बसाएंगे, शादी करेंगे, उनके अपने बच्चे होंगे। तो जब नए हाउस होल्ड्स की तश्कील होगी तो हर एक को तवानाई की ज़रूरत होगी। इसका मतलब है कि जैसे जैसे आबादी बढ़ती चली जाएगी हमारी तवानाई की ज़रूरियात भी बढ़ती चली जाएंगी। दूसरी बात यह है कि हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे बच्चियों को रोज़गार मिले, और रोज़गार देने के लिए सबसे अहम चीज़ ये है कि हमारी जो मुआशी तरक्की की शरह है वो बढ़े। मुआशी शरह यानी GDP की ग्रोथ जो है, अगर 1% बढ़ाएं तो तवानाई तकरीबन 1.5% चाहिए होती है उस 1% GDP की ग्रोथ को पूरा करने के लिए। इसका मतलब है कि अगर हम ये मान लें कि पाकिस्तान 4 से 5% के ऊपर ग्रो करता चला जाएगा मुआशी तौर पे, तो हमें 7-8% हर साल तवानाई अपनी बढ़ानी पड़ेगी। तो ये एक अहम मसला है जिसके लिए हमें हल चाहिए, अपनी आबादी की टेक केयर करने के लिए और अपनी मुआशी तरक्की के लिए। दूसरा हमारा मसला जो है वो अफोर्डेबिलिटी का है, यानी इस वक्त जो तवानाई हमारे पास मौजूद है, चाहे बिजली के हवाले से देखें या इंक्रीजिंगली गैस के हवाले से देखें, तो उसकी कीमत बढ़ती चली जा रही है। और पाकिस्तान के 20 करोड़ 24 करोड़ लोगों में से بیشتر لوگ 90% لوگ جو ہیں وہ یا بہت غریب ہیں یا متوسط طبقے سے تعلق رکھتے ہیں. ان کے لیے توانائی کو افورڈ کرنا، یعنی وہ بھلے کس کام کی بجلی یا اس کس کام کی گیس جو غریب آدمی استعمال ہی نہ کر سکے، جو وہ افورڈ ہی نہ کر سکے. تو دوسرا اہم مسئلہ یہ ہے کہ نہ صرف ہمیں توانائی بڑھانی ہے، ہمیں توانائی کی قیمت آہستہ آہستہ نیچے لے کر آنی ہے اور لوگوں کی افورڈیبلٹی کے دائرہ کار میں اسے لے کر آنا ہے. یہ دوسرا مسئلہ ہے. تیسرا مسئلہ ہمارا جو ہے وہ سسٹینیبلٹی کا ہے، اور سسٹینیبلٹی میں ہمارے دو مسائل ہیں. پہلا مسئلہ تو یہ ہے جو شارٹ ٹرم ہے کہ ہمارا ایکسٹرنل سیکٹر جو ہے وہ بالکل بے ترتیب ہوا ہے. ہماری جو امپورٹس ہیں وہ بہت زیادہ ہیں، ہماری ایکسپورٹس جو ہیں وہ بہت کم ہیں، اور ان کے درمیان کا جو گیپ ہے اس کی وجہ سے ہر وقت ہمارے روپے کے اوپر پریشر رہتا ہے اور روپیہ ڈیویلیویٹ ہوتا رہتا ہے. تو ایک تو اگر آپ دیکھیں اپنی امپورٹ بل کو تو آپ کو پتہ چلے گا کہ اس کا سب سے بڑا امپورٹ بل کا جو حصہ ہے وہ توانائی ہے. یعنی ہم 15, 16, 17 بلین ڈالر سے لے کے 20, 22 بلین ڈالر تک کی توانائی جو ہے اسے امپورٹ کرتے ہیں. ڈپینڈ کرتا ہے کہ پٹرول کی قیمت کیا ہے یا LNG کی قیمت کیا ہے، مگر یہ تو ہم سب کو معلوم ہے کہ سب سے بڑا حصہ جو ہے ہماری توانائی کا، ہماری پٹرولیم کا، ہماری گیس کا، وہ امپورٹڈ فیول سے اس منسلک ہے. تو یہ بھی ایک بہت بڑا مسئلہ ہے. یہ ہماری وہ وقتی طور پہ جس کو میں سسٹینیبلٹی یا شارٹ ٹرم سسٹینیبلٹی کہتا ہوں یا اکنامک سسٹینیبلٹی کہتا ہوں، یا آپ اس کو ایکسٹرنل سیکٹر کے زاویے سے دیکھ لیں، یہ ایک بڑا مسئلہ ہے. مگر اس سے زیادہ بڑا مسئلہ جو ہے وہ ہماری لانگ ٹرم سسٹینیبلٹی ہے. یعنی ویسے اگر آپ پاکستان کا ہیٹ میپ بنائیں تو آپ کو شاید پاکستان کا کاربن فٹ پرنٹ نظر بھی نہ آئے، بیکاز پاکستان کو بہت بڑا کاربن پولوٹر نہیں ہے. لیکن اگر آپ پاکستان کا رسک پروفائل دیکھیں تو پاکستان دنیا کے 5ویں سے لے کر 7ویں جو سب سے زیادہ رسک سسٹین کرنے والے ممالک ہیں ان میں پاکستان کا شمار ہوتا ہے. پاکستان ایسے ہے جیسے ہمالیہ کی گود میں ایک ویلی کی طرح پڑا ہے، اور اگر ہمارا کلائمیٹ برباد ہو جائے، ہماری انوائرمنٹ برباد ہو جائے، اور خدا نہ خواستہ ہم ہمالیہ کے پہاڑ جو ہیں ان کی برف پگھلنے کا ریٹ بدل جائے یا موسم میں تغیر آ جائے، تو دو چیزیں ہوں گی. ایک تو ہمارا پورا براج سسٹم جو ہے وہ بہہ جائے گا. ابھی آپ نے دیکھا پاکستان میں ہر دوسرے تیسرے سال ایک بڑا سیلاب آ جاتا ہے. مگر اس سے زیادہ اہم چیز یہ ہے کہ ہماری اگر کلائمیٹ بدل گیا تو ہماری تمام یہ جو فوڈ سیکیورٹی ہے، تمام کراپس کے پیٹرن جو ہیں یہ بے ترتیب ہو جائیں گے، اور اس سے ہماری فوڈ سیکیورٹی کا بہت بڑا ایک مسئلہ پیدا ہو جائے گا. تو ان ایسنس، ان سمری 3 مسائل ہیں: رسائی یعنی ایکسیس ٹو انرجی، افورڈیبلٹی یعنی ایسی توانائی جو لوگوں کی قوت خرید میں ہو، اور سسٹینیبلٹی جس میں 2 پہلو ہیں. ایک تو امپورٹ ایکسپورٹ کا جو توازن خراب ہے وہ پہلو، اور دوسرا انوائرمنٹل سسٹینیبلٹی. تو ان تمام مسائل کا حل ہمیں ڈھونڈنا ہے. تو ہم جو آپ کے سامنے چیز لا رہے ہیں اس میں اسٹریٹجی آپ کے سامنے یا سلوشنز آپ کے سامنے لانے سے پہلے میں یہ سمجھتا ہوں کہ اہم چیز یہ ہے کہ وہ بنیادی عقائد کیا ہیں جن کے ارد گرد ہم اس پوری انرجی کی مارکیٹ پلیس کو ترتیب دینا چاہتے ہیں، یعنی آرگنائزنگ پرنسپلز کیا ہیں ہمارے. تو 3 آرگنائزنگ پرنسپلز میں آپ کے سامنے پیش کرنا چاہوں گا. پہلی بات تو یہ ہے کہ ہمارے ہاں جو مشکل پڑتی ہے، آپ نے پیٹرول پمپ کھولنا ہو، آپ نے LPG کا ٹھیکہ لینا ہو، آپ نے LNG کا کوئی کارخانہ لگانا ہو، آپ نے کوئی چھوٹا کاروبار کرنا ہو، یا بڑی آپ نے جو کنسیشنز ہیں پاکستان کی آن شور یا آف شور لینی ہوں، آپ کو جن مشکلات کا کاروباری مشکلات کا، بیوروکریٹک مشکلات کا سامنا کرنا پڑتا ہے وہ اندوہناک ہے. تو سب سے پہلے تو ہم آسانی کاروبار کرنے میں بڑھانے کے لیے جا رہے ہیں، اور اس سلسلے میں بہت جلد وزیر اعظم خود آپ کو بتائیں گے کہ توانائی کے حوالے سے بھی اور اوور آل ملک میں بھی وہ کیا چیزیں، کون سی پالیسیز کو لے کر آگے بڑھ رہے ہیں، جس کے بعد یہ تمام ایز آف ڈوئنگ بزنس کی تکرار جو ہے وہ ختم ہو جائے گی. بہت جلد یہ آپ کے سامنے آنے والا ہے. دوسرا، ہم یہ چاہتے ہیں کہ لیول پلینگ فیلڈ ہو. اس ملک کا ایک بہت بڑا مسئلہ جو ہے وہ ایلیٹ کیپچر ہے، یعنی جس کے ہاتھ جو لگتا ہے وہ اٹھ کے بھاگ پڑتا ہے. کوئی ایسا معاملہ نہیں آپ کے سامنے آتا، آپ کسی بھی پالیسی کو کسی بھی زاویے سے دیکھیں تو آپ کو نظر آنا شروع ہو جاتا ہے کہ ارے بھائی اس پالیسی تو صرف اس کو فائدہ ہے، یا اس پالیسی سے تو صرف اس کو فائدہ ہے. لیکن وہ جو ایک لیول پلینگ فیلڈ ہوتا ہے جس میں سب کے لیے انرجی کی مارکیٹ پلیس برابر ہو، سب کے لیے توانائی کی قیمت برابر ہو، اور پھر وہ جو ترقی کریں یا کامیابی حاصل کریں وہ اپنی انجینوٹی کی وجہ سے، اپنی انوویشن کی وجہ سے کریں یا اپنی کمپیٹیٹیونیس کی وجہ سے کریں، وہ چیز سامنے نہیں آتی. تو دوسرا ایز آف ڈوئنگ بزنس کے بعد جو ہمارا آرگنائزنگ پرنسپل ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ سب کے لیے ایک لیول پلینگ فیلڈ، برابر کا لیول پلینگ فیلڈ ہو، جس میں کوئی بھی ایسا جھانسا ماسا دے کر کوئی ایک آرگیومنٹ دے کے ایک لاپ سائیڈڈ ایڈوانٹیج نہ حاصل کر سکے. اور تیسرا جو مقدمہ ہے جو دوسرے پوائنٹ سے جڑا ہوا ہے، جو آرگنائزنگ پرنسپل، جو بنیادی نقطہ ہے یا بنیادی قاعدہ ہے، وہ ہے فیئرس کمپٹیشن کا، کہ آسان کر دیں کاروبار کو، سب کے لیے برابر کر دیں توانائی کی قیمت، اور فیئرس کمپٹیشن مارکیٹ میں کریٹ کر دیں، چاہے وہ ایکسپلوریشن میں ہو، چاہے وہ ڈسٹریبیوشن میں ہو، چاہے وہ توانائی میں ہو، چاہے وہ انڈسٹریل فٹ پرنٹ میں ہو، چاہے وہ کمرشل ایکٹیویٹی میں ہو. ایک عجیب کمپٹیشن کی دھما چوکڑی مچا دیں تاکہ نئے ہمارے جو نوجوان بچے اور بچیاں ہیں جن کے ذہن میں نئے خاکے ہیں، نئی سوچ ہے، نئے بزنس ماڈل ہیں، وہ پرانی بڑی سلطنتوں کو الٹا کے وہ آگے بڑھیں اور نئے کاروبار اور نئے طریقے سے کاروبار کرنے کے طریقے سامنے لائیں، جس سے وہ بھی آگے بڑھیں اور ملک بھی ترقی کرے. اور وہ جس طرح وہ امریکہ میں کہتے ہیں ریگز ٹو ریچز کی کہانی جو ہے، وہ پاکستان میں بھی اس کی باز گشت جو ہے وہ سنائی دی جائے. اب آ جاتے ہیں سلوشنز کی طرف. تو پہلا ہمارا سلوشن کیا ہے، ہماری پہلی اسٹریٹجک تھرسٹ کیا ہے؟ تو پہلی اسٹریٹجک تھرسٹ ہے ہماری انڈیجنائزیشن کی، یعنی لوکلائزیشن کی. یعنی وہ تمام چیزیں جو ہم باہر سے لا کے پاکستان میں کر رہے ہیں، کیا وہ پاکستان میں نہیں ہو سکتی؟ یہ تو ہم مانتے ہیں کہ ہمارے ملک میں کوئی بہت بڑا ایسا ہماری جیولوجی ایسی نہیں ہے، بہت اچھی جیولوجی ہے، مگر ایسی نہیں ہے جیسے سعودی عربیہ کی ہے یا جیسے یونائٹڈ عرب ایمریٹس کی ہے. اس طرح کا لینڈسکیپ ہمارا نہیں ہے، یا ایران کی طرح کا ہمارا لینڈسکیپ نہیں ہے کہ آپ ایک گڑھا کھودیں اور درمیان میں اس میں سے تیل یا گیس نکلنی شروع ہو جائے. ایسا نہیں ہے، ہماری جیولوجی ایسی نہیں ہے، یا کم از کم ہماری نظروں کے سامنے ابھی تک نہیں آئی ہے. لیکن پھر بھی اتنی اچھی تو ہے کہ ہم اپنی لوکل پروڈکشن کو بڑھائیں. لوکل جو ہماری یہاں پہ ہمارے جو آن شور ایسٹس ہیں اور ہمارے آف شور ایسٹس ہیں، ان کے لیے ایک ریزنیبل فریم ورک لائیں. ایک ایسا فریم ورک لائیں جس میں کمپنیاں آئیں، جس میں کمپنیاں انویسٹ کریں، مگر ساتھ کے ساتھ کہیں ایسا نہ ہو کہ ہم جو لوکلی پروڈیوس کر رہے ہیں اس کی قیمت LNG سے بھی آگے نکل جائے. یعنی یہ تو کوئی پالیسی نہیں ہوگی کہ پاکستان میں جو پیدا ہو رہی ہو گیس یا پیٹرول، اس کی قیمت باہر سے آنے والی امپورٹڈ توانائی جو ہے، امپورٹڈ LNG جو ہے، اس سے بھی زیادہ ہو جائے. تو ایک بہترین طریقہ کار سامنے لائیں جس میں بہت اچھا انسینٹیو ہو کمپنیوں کے پاس کہ وہ انویسٹ کریں پاکستان میں. آن شور جو ہمارے کنسیشنز ہیں اس کو بھی ایکسپلور کریں، اور دیگر ممالک کے ساتھ مل کے یا بین الاقوامی کمپنیوں کے ساتھ مل کے ہمارے جو آف شور ایسٹس ہیں جو سمندر میں ہیں ان کو بھی ایکسپلور کیا جائے. تو ایک تو یہ انڈیجنائزیشن جو ہے اس کے اوپر کام کیا جا رہا ہے. اور ٹائٹ گیس کی بھی ایک پالیسی ہے. اس ضمن میں ہمارے ملک میں ایک بڑا ذخیرہ ہے ٹائٹ گیس کا، یعنی وہ گیس جو پتھروں میں قید ہے، آپ یہ مان لیں، بس یہ سمجھ لیں. اور اگر ان کو فریک کیا جائے یا ان کو ڈرل کیا جائے تو اس سے جو پیٹرول اور گیس ریلیز ہوگی وہ تھوڑی مہنگی ہوگی لیکن پاکستانی ہوگی، اور اس میں ہمیں زر مبادلہ جو ہے اس کا بوجھ ہم پہ کم ہوگا. تو یہ دوسری چیز ہے. یعنی ایک تو ہو گئی ہمارے جو آن شور ہیں، ہمارے آف شور ہیں، اور ٹائٹ گیس، یہ تمام چیزوں کو لے کر آگے بڑھیں گے. لیکن ایک بہت بڑی چیز جو ہم کرنے جا رہے ہیں وہ ہیں رینیوبلز. پاکستان میں ہے کیا بھائی؟ پاکستان میں سورج ہے، ایسا گرجتا چمکتا سورج، آپ باہر نکلیں تو آپ کا برا حال ہو جاتا ہے پسینے سے. تو کیوں نہ اس سورج کی توانائی جو ہے اس کو استعمال کیا جائے، شمسی توانائی کو استعمال کیا جائے. اس میں تو کوئی امپورٹ نہیں ہے، اللہ کا دیا ہوا سورج ہے، اللہ کی دی ہوئی گرمی ہے. آپ نے صرف وہ شیشے لگانے ہیں, سولر پینل لگانے ہیں جس کے ذریعے آپ توانائی جو ہے پیدا کر سکیں گے, اور ایک دفعہ وہ لگ جائیں تو ہمیشہ کے لیے جب تک سورج ہے, جب تک گرمی ہے, جب تک اس کی شعاعیں ہیں, تب تک آپ کے پاس توانائی ہے. دوسرا, ہمارے ہاں ونڈ جو ہے اس کے بے شمار کوریڈورز ہیں, بڑے جھکڑ چلتے ہیں, بڑی یعنی تندی کے ساتھ ہماری ہوا چلتی ہے, تو اس ہوا کو کے ذریعے جو بجلی پیدا کی جا سکتی ہے, جو توانائی پیدا کی جا سکتی ہے, وہ دوسری چیز ہے. اور ہمارے ہاں کچھ کاؤنٹر سکلیکلٹی ہے. پاکستان کسی حد تک ایک یونیک ملک ہے کہ پاکستان میں دن میں شدید گرمی اور شدید سورج کی وہ ریڈیشن ہوتی ہے, مگر رات کو چلتی ہے ہوا. تو یہ جو کاؤنٹر سکلیکلٹی ہے کہ دن میں سورج اور رات میں ہوا, اگر اس کو جوڑا جائے اور اس کے ہائیبرڈ سولوشنز بنائے جائیں تو بہت سے توانائی کے مسائل جو ہیں وہ آگے بڑھ کے حل ہو سکتے ہیں. دوسرے, آج سے نہیں, 100 سال سے نہیں, سینکڑوں سالوں سے, غالباً ملینز آف ایئرز سے یہ ہمالیہ کے جو پہاڑ ہیں, ہمالیہ کے پہاڑ جو ہیں, ان پہ ہر سال اسی طرح برف گرتی ہے, اور ہر سال اسی طرح برف پگھلتی ہے, اور ہر سال اسی طرح پانی بہتا ہے. تو اس بہتے پانی کے ذریعے اگر اس میں ٹربائنز لگا کے ہائیڈرو انرجی جو ہے اسے جنریٹ کیا جائے تو اس میں بھی کوئی زر مبادلہ نہیں لگتا, نہ سورج میں زر مبادلہ, نہ ونڈ میں, ہوا میں زر مبادلہ, پنچکی میں زر مبادلہ, نہ پانی کے فلو میں زر مبادلہ. تو پھر کیوں نہ ایک کمبینیشن ایسا بنایا جائے جس میں یہ رینیوبلز جو ہیں یہ پاکستان کے مستقبل کو سنوارے, رینیوبل انرجی کے ذریعے ہم سب مل کے پاکستان کے مستقبل کو سنوارے. تو یہ جو انڈیجنائزیشن کی کیمپین ہے, اس میں یعنی ایک تو ہماری ٹریڈیشنل جو پروڈکشن ہے اس کو آگے بڑھایا جائے, ٹائٹ گیس کو, آن شور کو, آف شور کو. دوسرا, ہمارے جو رینیوبلز ہیں ان کو ایک پورا دھکا لگا کے پورے زور سے آگے بڑھایا جائے تاکہ ہماری قیمت بھی نیچے آئے اور ہمیں زر مبادلہ کا بوجھ بھی ہٹ جائے, اور جب تک پانی بہتا رہے, جب تک ہوا چلتی رہے, جب تک سورج ابھرتا رہے مشرق سے, تب تک پاکستان میں انرجی پیدا ہوتی رہے. یہ تو پہلا سلوشن ہو گیا انڈیجنائزیشن کا. دوسرا ہمارا جو سلوشن ہے وہ ہے کاسٹ منیمائزیشن کا. اس میں کیا ہے کہ بھائی ابھی ہم باہر سے منگواتے ہیں پیٹرولیم پروڈکٹس, پیٹرول منگواتے ہیں, ڈیزل منگواتے ہیں, باہر سے منگواتے ہیں, لیکن ہم کروڈ منگوا کے پاکستان میں بھی تو پیٹرول اور ڈیزل پیدا کر سکتے ہیں. اس کے ذریعے ہوگا کیا, اس کا فائدہ کیا ہے؟ اس کا فائدہ یہ ہے کہ جو ہمیں پریمیم دینا پڑتا ہے, جو پچھلے سال تو ڈیزل پہ غالباً $15 تک چلا گیا تھا, وہ کروڈ کے اوپر $1-2 کا پریمیم ہوتا ہے, تو ہمیں وہ ایڈوانٹیج ہو جائے گا. اور دوسرا, تھوڑی سی سیکیورٹی ہو جائے گی کہ کسی بھی وقت, مشکل وقت میں اگر ایک دم تیل کی, ڈیزل کی یا پیٹرول کی قیمت بڑھتی ہے تو ہمارے پاس کروڈ ہوگا, تھوڑے سے اس کے سٹوریج بھی ہوگی, مگر اس سے زیادہ بڑھ کے جو اس کے اوپر پریمیم ہے وہ ہمیں نہیں دینا پڑے گا یا کم دینا پڑے گا. تو یہ بھی ہماری جو ریفائنری پالیسیز ہیں گرین فیلڈ کی اور براؤن فیلڈ کی, اور ابھی بھی چین میں جو ہم جا رہے ہیں تو گفتگو کو آگے بڑھا رہے ہیں. یہ جو ہماری گرین فیلڈ ریفائنری ہے اس گفتگو کو آگے بڑھا رہے ہیں. اور اس میں ایک نیا پہلو جو ہے, ایک نئی جدت پیدا کی ہے, وہ یہ کہ دیکھیے ہماری ایک اور پرابلم یہ کہ ہم جو بھی کارخانہ لگاتے ہیں اس میں فارن ایکسچینج لگتا ہے, مگر جب ہم باہر سے کروڈ منگوائیں یا پیٹرول منگوائیں یہاں پر بیچتے ہیں تو روپے میں بیچتے ہیں, خریدتے ڈالر میں, بیچتے روپے میں. جب دوبارہ خریدنا ہوتا ہے تو پھر ڈالر چاہیے ہوتے ہیں, لیکن ہمارے پاس تو تھیلوں میں بڑے بڑے روپے ہوتے ہیں, ڈالر تو ہوتے نہیں. ڈالر خریدنے جاتے ہیں, ڈالر مہنگا ہو جاتا ہے. اس وجہ سے ہم یہ سوچ رہے ہیں کہ ہم زیادہ سے زیادہ کوئی ایسی چیز بنائیں جو ایکسپورٹ بھی ساتھ ہوتی ہو. تو اگر ہم کروڈ لے کر آئیں اور آدھے کروڈ سے اپنی ضروریات کے لیے پیٹرول اور ڈیزل بنا لیں, مگر آدھے کروڈ سے پیٹرو کیمیکلز بنا لیں جو بین الاقوامی منڈی میں ایکسپورٹ ہوتے ہیں, استعمال ہوتے ہیں دنیا کے کونے کونے میں, تو ہماری وہ جو امپورٹ کا بل ہے وہ آف سیٹ ہو جائے گا اس ایکسپورٹ سے جو ہم پیٹرو کیمیکلز کی کریں گے. تو یہ ہم نئی جدت پیدا کر کے تھوڑی سی چینج کر کے وہ گرین فیلڈ ریفائنری میں کوشش کر رہے ہیں کہ بین الاقوامی سطح پہ مختلف ممالک جو ہیں وہ ہمارے ساتھ پارٹنرشپ کریں اور ہم اس کو آگے بڑھائیں. اس کے علاوہ ہم اپنی دیگر جو ایگزسٹنگ ریفائنریز ہیں جن کو ہم براؤن فیلڈ کہہ رہے ہیں ان کے لیے بھی ایک پالیسی ترتیب دی گئی ہے اور ان میں انویسٹمنٹس ہو رہی ہیں اور انشاءاللہ وہ بھی یورو 5 اسٹینڈرڈ پہ بھی آ جائیں گی. انوائرمنٹل برڈن بھی کم ہو جائے گا اور یہ جو بلیک آئل ہے, فرنس آئل ہے, جس سے نقصان ہوتا ہے ریفائنری کو, اس کی پرسنٹیج بھی جو ہے بہت کم ہو جائے گی. تو ایک تو یہ ہو گئی کہ کیسے ہم پریمیم کم کریں گے, کیسے ہم بلیک آئل جو لاسٹ لیڈر ہے اس کو کم کریں گے, فرنس آئل کو کم کریں گے, کیسے ہم انوائرمنٹ پہ بوجھ کم کریں گے. مگر دوسری جو بہت اہم چیز ہے وہ ہے ملک میں ہمارے ہاں جو چوری ہوتی ہے, جو تھیفٹ ہوتا ہے, اور اس کو ختم کرنے کے لیے ایک مکمل پروگرام بنایا گیا ہے جو SNGPL اور SSGC کے حوالے کر دیا گیا ہے. اور SNGPL اور SSGC دونوں TBS اور SMS لیول کے اوپر سمارٹ میٹرز لگا رہے ہیں. جب یہ میٹر لگ جائیں گے, یعنی آپ یہ مان لیں کہ اگر 2000-3000 گھروں کا ایک پروفٹ اینڈ لاس بلاک بنا دیا جائے اور اس پہ کسی کو ذمہ دار ٹھہرا دیا جائے اور اس کو یہ کہا جائے کہ بھائی تیرے TBS میں یا تیرے SMS میں اتنی گیس آ رہی ہے, اتنے مالیکیول آ رہے ہیں, تو اس کا حساب دے, بتا تو نے کہاں بیچی, کس کو دی اور کتنے پیسے اکٹھے کیے. تو اگر یہ چھوٹے چھوٹے یونٹس جو ہیں اگر ہم اس کی گورننس کو ڈیوالو کر دیں, پروفٹ اینڈ لاس اسٹیٹمنٹ کا حساب کتاب 2-3-4 ہزار جو گھر ہیں ان کی لیول پہ اکٹھا کرنا شروع کر دیں, تو بجائے اس کے کہ ہم کہیں کہ SSGC کو اتنا نقصان ہو گیا یا SNGPL کو اتنا فائدہ ہو گیا, اس کے بجائے اگر ہم یہ کہنا شروع کر دیں کہ بھائی یہ وہ جگہیں ہیں 4 یا یہ 28 جگہیں ہیں جہاں پہ ہمارے نقصانات ہو رہے ہیں, ان پہ فوکس کرنا چاہیے, اور وہ صاحب وہ افسر جو اس کے رسپانسبل ہیں ان کو رسپانسبل ٹھہرایا جائے کہ وہ یہاں پہ گیس کی چوری بھی نہ ہونے دیں. اگر لیکیج ہے تو بھاگ کے اپنی پائپیں لگوائیں, کیونکہ ان سے اکاؤنٹیبل ان کو کیا جائے گا, ان سے پوچھا جائے گا آپ کی ذمہ داری تھی تو یہاں پہ گیس کیسے آپ نے جتنی ریسیو کی تھی اسمارٹ میٹر کے ذریعے کہاں گئی, تو کچھ جواب دینا پڑے گا نا. یا آپ نے بل کیا تھا تو بل کیوں نہیں لیا, تو کوئی جواب دینا پڑے گا نا. تو سسٹم جو ہے وہ بہتری کی طرف جانا شروع ہو جائے گا, اور اسی کے ذریعے پھر سرکولر ڈیٹ بھی جو بڑھ رہا ہے وہ بھی آہستہ آہستہ بہتری کی طرف آ جائے گا. پچھلی حکومت میں ہم نے جو ویل ہیڈ تھا, یعنی ہمارے جو اپنے کنویں ہیں ان کے اوپر سرکولر ڈیٹ ختم کر دیا تھا اور ایک سرپلس بھی چھوٹا سا کریٹ کر دیا ہے, جو بعد میں روپے ڈالر کی ڈی ویلیویشن کی وجہ سے کچھ اس میں خاطر خواہ ہمیں نفع نہیں ہوا, لیکن سرکولر ڈیٹ ویل ہیڈ سے ہم نے ختم کر دیا. اب ہم یہ LNG کا جو سرکولر ڈیٹ ہے اس کو بھی ختم کرنے کی طرف جا رہے ہیں, اور انشاءاللہ اللہ ہمیں کامیابی دیں گے. تو ہم جو نقصانات ہو رہے ہیں, جو چوریاں ہو رہی ہیں, جو ایڈمنسٹریٹو لاسز ہو رہے ہیں, ان پہ بھی قابو پائیں گے, اور اس کے ساتھ سرکولر ڈیٹ کے اوپر بھی قابو پائیں گے, اور اسے آہستہ آہستہ بتدریج کم کرتے چلے جائیں گے. ایک ہمارے پاس اسکیم ہے جو 1-2 مرتبہ ڈیبیٹ بھی ہوئی اس کو ختم کرنے کی, لیکن ابھی اس پہ کوئی فیصلہ نہیں کیا گیا. تو تھیفٹ کی بھی بات ہو گئی, سرکولر ڈیٹ کی بھی بات ہو گئی, پیٹرولیم کی ریفائنری کی بھی بات ہو گئی. ان تمام چیزوں کے ذریعے ہم اپنی کاسٹ کے اوپر کنٹرول کریں گے. اب راستہ آگے بڑھنے کا کیا ہے؟ تو دیکھیے, آگے بڑھنے کا راستہ جو ہے مجھے تو ایسے لگتا ہے کہ الیکٹریفیکیشن ہے. پوری دنیا میں ایک الیکٹریفیکیشن کا ریولوشن آ رہا ہے, اور میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ وہ ریولوشن پاکستان میں بھی آنا چاہیے, اور ہم اسی اسپیس ہیٹنگز کے لیے استعمال ہوتی ہے. اگر بجلی سستی ہو جائے تو پھر لوگ جو ہیں بجلی کے, جیسے کہ پوری دنیا میں ہوتا ہے, آپ کہیں دنیا میں چلے جائیں تو بجلی کے اوون ہوتے ہیں, بجلی کے چولہے ہوتے ہیں, بجلی کی واشنگ مشین ہوتی ہے, بجلی کے تمام آلات ہوتے ہیں. بجلی کا چولہوں کا تو غالباً میں ذکر کر چکا ہوں, یہ واٹر ہیٹرز ہوتے ہیں جن کو گیزرز آپ کہتے ہیں, یہ بھی سب بجلی کے ہوتے ہیں. تو اگر اسپیس ہیٹر اگر بجلی سستی ہو جائے, اسپیس ہیٹر بجلی سے چلنے لگیں, واٹر ہیٹر بجلی سے چلنے شروع ہو جائیں, تو آپ کا جو سرکولر ڈیٹ ہے وہ ختم ہو جائے گا. یعنی گرمیوں میں آپ کو بجلی کی ضرورت ہوتی 30-35 ہزار میگا واٹ, سردیوں میں رہ جاتی 10,000 میگا واٹ. اگر سردیوں میں بجلی سستی ہو اور وہ آلات جو ہم گیس کے ذریعے چلاتے ہیں, بجلی کی کھپت بڑھ جائے گی, سرکولر وہ جو کیپیسٹی پیمنٹ ہے اس کا 20,000 ہو جائے 8,000 کے بجائے یا 10,000 کے بجائے, تو آپ سوچیں کہ کیپیسٹی پیمنٹ کا کتنا بوجھ جو ہے وہ کم ہو جائے گا. اور اس وقت سب سے بڑا بوجھ 60 سے 70 کیپیسٹی پیمنٹ کا بھی حل ہے. یہ آہستہ آہستہ الیکٹریفیکیشن کی طرف بھی جانا ہے, جو کہ زیادہ بہتر طریقہ کار ہے توانائی کو فراہم کرنے کا, اور اس کے ذریعے آپ کی کیپیسٹی پیمنٹ بھی کم ہو جائے گی. इसके ज़रिए जो LNG का बोझ है हमारे ऊपर, जो हम इतनी महंगी LNG इंपोर्ट करते हैं, उसका बोझ भी कम हो बतदरीज। लोगों को हम गैस देते हैं, 2 व्हीलर्स भी सस्ती बिजली बनाएंगे, उसके ज़रिए ट्रांसपोर्ट का इंतज़ाम भी करेंगे। मगर कठिन रास्ता है, मैंने बड़ा सिंप्लीफाई करके आपको बताया है, कठिन रास्ता है, आसान नहीं है। बिजली की बिजली के ऊपर सब चीज़ें इस्तेमाल करना शुरू कर देंगे तो ऐसा नहीं होगा। जिम्मेदारी हम पे पहली है और फिर आवाम के सामने पानी पैदा करते जाएंगे, मार्केट में कंपटीशन लाते रहेंगे। ये रेगुलेशंस के ज़रिए जो कीमतों का उतार चढ़ाव होता है, जिसमें विंडफॉल्स पैदा होती हैं, जिसमें एलीट का, ये था वो खाका, ये वो है तरीक़ाकार जिसके ज़रिए हम लोगों को पाएंगे और ऐसी कीमत पे कर पाएंगे जिस पे लोग अफोर्ड कर सकेंगे और ऐसे तरीक़ाकार से कर सकेंगे कि ना सिर्फ हमारी
Mr. Momin Agha for his address. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a huge round of applause for Mr. Agha.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Chairman PIP, Directors, Shahryar Saab, CEO of PIP, our international participants, speakers, panelists, distinguished members from the industry and academia, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. So it's always a pleasure to be amongst friends, and one doesn't really have to read through comments which have been prepared for you. So it's always good to meet with colleagues from the sector. I think Minister Saab ki jo abhi takreer thi, he has laid out the broad principles of how we want to take this sector forward and how we see the sector evolving. And this clearly is something that the entire ministry is now working to develop a comprehensive implementation plan for. Dekhiye, we all understand that in the last few years, the entire landscape of energy has changed. It has moved forward and very fast in the last few years, especially after COVID. Jo swings aaye in terms of prices and supply, and especially after the Ukraine war and all of that. We all feel that we now need a new framework which is more self-reliant. We need a framework which is more sustainable and affordable by the people. In the last few years, the complexion of our gas sector has changed tremendously. Gas I will talk about primarily because that is more regulated. Gas I will talk about more because it is almost the bread and butter of what we do here. Oil is, I think, more stable. But gas sector has now got to be aligned with the larger energy equation, which is the power sector. और जो उसकी alignment अब होनी है, and now we feel that there is a bit of a mismatch going forward because the economy did not sort of pick up in the way that it was presumed to, और उसकी वजह से we now have completely lopsided structure of imported versus the indigenous gas in the country. So we have to align ourselves on that. That is the most crucial aspect at this point in time. I'm hopeful that once that conundrum is resolved, we will be able to take that forward and do all of the things that we want to do with the gas sector. We want to encourage investments in the exploration, in the production, in storage, in the refining sector in oil, and all of these areas. All of that has to come together. और जब से नई government आई है, we have been working tirelessly, the minister and myself and the Prime Minister, numerous meetings with the power sector in terms of how that alignment and that forward movement will take place. जो next few years में हमारे साथ there is of course an electric revolution that is coming in place, which the minister also spoke about at length. We also need an alignment with that broad area in terms of how we are going to plug in our systems, and how much will that cost? Will it be effective? Will it be affordable for Pakistan or not? That is something that we have to take forward. I'm pleased to let you know that in the next few months, we are undertaking a very important exercise to develop a comprehensive demand, supply, and forecasting tool that will help us determine what exactly our numbers will look like in terms of production. Because we also see that we have some key points emerging in the next few years in terms of our imported gases. So the next few months is going to be very crucial, ji, and we are hopeful that we will be able to undertake all of that exercise. So I will not hold you back from the very important work that is going to be discussed here, but I do look forward to receiving the inputs from here. We have a presentation and a discussion with the Prime Minister the moment he comes back from China, and we are hopeful that we will be able to put some of these ideas into operation and put this across to the Prime Minister on Monday, inshallah ta'ala, when he is back in Pakistan. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. We are committed to leading this journey with transparency, integrity, and a forward-thinking approach. And I thank you very much for giving this opportunity to me to address this August gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your rich insights related to energy mix. Ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you before we proceed any further that PEC 2024 is basically divided into three sections as we are about to begin the presentations. 1, oil and gas sector. 2, international perspectives. And for the first time, panel discussion sessions on 2 of the most vital and sought after topics. And these panel discussions will be held just after lunch. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will move on to the presentations from our distinguished speakers for the first section, which is Pakistan's oil and gas sector. Let me also add that each presentation will be of a duration of 20 minutes. We will begin with a very pertinent topic of exploration challenges, policies, and innovations. I would now request an energy expert, ED Exploration, Farooq Saghir Sahab of OGDCL, to start his presentation on the subject. A huge round of applause for Mr. Farooq Saghir.
Honorable Chief Guest, Secretary Petroleum Division, Momin Agha Sahab, delegates, MDs and CEOs of petroleum industry, professionals, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Today I got an opportunity to present Pakistan exploration case, which will give you an idea of past, present and future. The idea to present the whole history of oil and gas is to understand that where we were, where we are, and where we're heading. I'll start my presentation by putting a quote, which means that the future is anchored by the quality and the beauty of dreams, what you think. The reason I'm saying is because exploration is about opportunity and dreams, which are converted to reality once we discover hydrocarbons. The other question I would like to put across in the start is that what is possible and what is the possibilities of finding more oil and gas in Pakistan. This presentation will take you through the understanding and learning where we can help and what is the potential of Pakistan onshore, offshore and unconventional. So the presentation outlines a couple of things. I've taken the opportunity to present the first couple of slides on OGDCL, where we are. The next part will cover the Pakistan exploration potential, covering main topics onshore, offshore, unconventional. We'll put across key challenges what we are facing for industry, and then way forward, what we think and how the stakeholders can help us. So OGDC being the national operator, the biggest operator in Pakistan, we operate in majority of the blocks. We are almost 40% of industry. and we are one of the leading companies in Pakistan. Our current production is about 34,000 barrels of oil, 1,025 million gas, 775 tons of LPG, and 25 tons of sulfur. I think this is a very interesting slide to show because OGDC is focusing on aggressive exploration, and our focus is to find more oil and gas. We operate about 55 blocks overall Pakistan. These blocks covering 10 in KPK, 11 in Punjab, 12 in Sindh, and 22 in Balochistan. And the DNPLDs we operate, they are in 5 in KPK, 11 in Punjab, about 56 in Sindh, and 5 in Balochistan. The slide represents the diversity of our focus. We are covering all the sedentary basins of Pakistan onshore at the moment, and we are focusing to find more hydrocarbons in very fast time. I'll start with the what activities are going in Pakistan. This is on the map. You can see the concession map of Pakistan, which shows the activities of Pakistan. The green blocks are the active blocks, and the yellow ones are more in DNPL. The light brown ones are up for bidding. You can see a couple of blocks which are coming in the future in offshore. Overall, there are 145 active blocks in the country, 214 DNPL fields. Over the inception, we have drilled about 2,824 wells, out of which 1,205 exploratory wells and 1,600 development and appraisal. The success rate is around 30%, 464 wells of discoveries, 64 oil and 368 of gas. The total sedimentary area of Pakistan, minusing the area which is more metaphorically igneous, is about 580,000 square kilometers, and the under area of exploration is about 257,000 kilometers. There's a good news that Pakistan, because we are revisiting our basins, we have started our Pakistan Basin Studies, which will run for 3 years, and it will cover all the sedimentary basins of Pakistan, and it will cover onshore and offshore Pakistan. I'm going to a deep dive. So this is a very interesting slide, and I would like you to really focus, and I'll take you through the journey. This slide represents 100 years of a journey. So it starts from 1940, and it will take us to 2040. The point here is that this graph represents on the x-axis the years. On the y-axis, there are two variables. One is the number of wells, and on the right is the total volume, billion BOE. This is the creaming curve, which represents the total reserve for Pakistan. The first jump on the graph you can see is the Sui field, and these keep on jumping. The graph represents 3 phases of exploration. First, we call it frontier basins. When the initial exploration starts, you will see a vertical jump on the graph. Then it's an inclination, which is, we call it frontier, and then when it's flat out, it's called mature basins. It indicates that in any basins, when you go, the first part of exploration gets you more results, and then it gets mature with the time. On the left-hand side, you can see the total reserve of Pakistan. So till now, since inceptions, we have explored about 1.2 billion barrel of oil. We have produced 1.05, and remaining potential of Pakistan reserves is about 193 million, which relate to 8 years of lifetime we have if you produce the current rates. For the gas case, we have discovered 63 TCF of gas. We have produced 45, and 18 TCF of gas is left in the system, which can take us for next 15 years if you're producing at 3.3 BCF per year. I think if you focus on the histogram, the green bars, they represent number of wells per year. The box on the bottom, which says that the comparison is between last 35 years and next 16 years. So last 35 years, we have drilled about 864 wells. We have discovered 5.3 million barrel of oil. But the next part, which is the right part on the graph, it has a 2 forecast. One forecast says that we can reach about 2.5 billion barrel of oil equivalent, which is based on our performance of previous exploration. There's a red curve, which is the new curve we have developed, which in this case is 5 billion barrel. That represents the new discoveries which have been done in the last 3 years. And there's a very high case which can take us to 8 billion barrels. That is based on the field distribution data, field sites, and that takes you to 8 billion barrels of oil in next 16 years. And how it relates to the numbers, so 2.5 billion barrel of oil equivalent means 15 TCF of gas. So if you're producing 5 BCF on the highest time, then you need about 1.5 TCF per year, which means that if you add 15 TCF of gas, that can give you 10 years or more of life for the system. Pakistan have seen the biggest peak of production around 4.3 BCF, 2 PCF, around 2011. There was an event happened in 2001 where the gas cap was removed, and at that time the activity also increased because of the gas pricing impact. In 2017 and 18, this is the time where we started as a net importer of LNG. So from 2000 to 2011, we went to the peak, and then the decline started, and at 2017-18, we started importing. The curve is going down in terms because of the fact that all the fields are depleting. The current challenge we have today is the depletion rate of our gas fields and oil fields, which is somewhere from 7 to 9%. I think the first part of the focus and the challenge will be to sustain the decline and then go for the incremental value. So this is a very interesting slide. On the left side, there's a resource density map. There's a big bubbles which represent the total volume of oil and gas where they are present at the moment. And on the right side, the distribution of the volumes per geological areas, which is, we call it, basins. On the left side of the slides, there are big circles. The green circle represents the current focus mature basins, which is Badin in the south. In the center is Mari Gas, Kadirpur, Sugi and all that. And in the north is Potowar. These green belts shows that a lot of oil and gas has been discovered in these areas. These are the focus areas. There are small dots on the map as well. They are the exploratory wells. If you relate the exploratory wells with the findings, they have a very unique correlation. If you look at the future areas, which are in red, we call it frontier basins. If you start from the top, which is the Kohad Basin, which there's a lot of focus, and for the last couple of years, we have made major discoveries. If you come down from one step down, this is Suleiman Fold Belt, the big circle, and then you come down again, it's the Keither Fold Belt, and then you go in offshore. And there's a small circle on the right, which is, we call it Punjab platform, which we are also exploring, but the density of the wells are relatively very low. The concept of exploration is based on the effort you made and how much focus the exploration needs. Normally, if you want to test any play, you need at least 10 to 15 wells to establish a play type. So what we think that now the exploration is moving from a simpler phase of exploration to a complex phase of exploration, and I'll explain why. The previous era and multiple eras, what we have seen that we have focused on the areas which are relatively easy in the plain area, which is Badin, Middle Indus region around Sakkar and Jakabad, and then you go on Kohat and Potwar, which is Attak district and all that. But now these areas are mature, so finding bigger volumes is getting difficult every day, which means that you invest more and you find less. The opportunity lies in the fold belts, and fold belts have its own challenges. And let me quantify the challenges are. First is the cost. If you move from a green circle to red circle, the cost multiplies by 5 times in terms of exploration cost. The other thing which is happening is the exploration cycle. If you discover anything in the green circles, you can bring into the pipeline in 2 years or 1 year. But if you discover anything in the red circles, it will take multiple years, anything from 5 to 7 years. Because of the terrain, because of the cost, because of the closeness to the infrastructure. The point we are making is that the potential lies in the red blocks, and the next part of the challenge we have is the security. Because these are, all the fold belts are sitting in the mountainous areas, and over the years there's a lot of challenge of security in different facets, either it's coming from Afghanistan sort of thing or local thing, but there are a couple of challenges, and the cost of security is also one of the challenge we have. Just to give an idea what the cost will look like, it's about 10 to 15% of the project cost of exploration, which is only security. What it does is it also hinders the progress as well. So at times you can really progress in the green areas faster than the red areas. The reason to explaining is that the potential is there, but the time it takes to bring the oil and gas in the system, it takes more time. For the last 1 decade, the focus in these red blocks has been widely focused. Because exploration cycles are long, they take at least 5 to 10 years to come to a point where you have done your acquisition, processing, interpretation, and you mature a well to drill. So it's a great challenge, but I think the focus is there to explore these ones. If you have seen the last slide, the exploration potential of Pakistan, if you compare the 11 billion barrel of oil, which is on the right slide, which indicates that the red bar on the right slide, the half of the volume sitting in this area, the purple bar which indicates Sui, Qadirpur, Och and all that, which is also close to the mountains. The blue bar indicates Badara bit in that Kirsa Fold Belt, and the top light blue indicates the Potohar and Kohat volumes. So the distribution of volumes are 50-50 at the moment, but we think that the potential is more on the fold belts than compared to the mature area, which is the green ones. The bigger message is that there's a lot of potential left in our sedimentary basins. We have found about 11.6 billion barrel of oil. The pie chart represents the two part. The green part is the total volume found, the red part is the total volume produced, and the blue part is the remaining volume, what we have now today. The understanding how we see exploration, it's a different way of looking things, because if you compare the exploration, which is a simpler for last 2-3 decades, is getting to a complex, but we believe the potential is still there. So there's a balance between how we do it, but the understanding of bigger industry that potential is there onshore is there. So that explains the idea that we still will be focusing on this focus. The other message which was in this slide, if you focus on the right side, there are two bars presented. One is the blue bars overlaid by the red bars, and what they are is very interesting. So if you want to explore 2.5 billion barrels of oil, you need 20 wells, exploratory wells per year, based on our historical data, performance data of exploration. If you want to push it to 5 to 8 billion barrels of oil equivalent, 8 barrel means 40 TCF of gas, then you need to drill at least 40 wells per year. And at the moment, we are drilling about 15 to 18 wells, exploratory wells per year. I think we need to push a little on that side. The reason is that the exploration cycles are increasing, the complexity is increasing, so to deliver the business is getting tough every day. Again, the security point is there. So the next topic is offshore Pakistan. Offshore Pakistan is a very interesting case, and there are two slides, and first is about what we want to do and where we are. I think the future of Pakistan energy lies in offshore Pakistan. Pakistan offshore basins are unique basins where very limited exploration has been done. We have only drilled about 14 wells in Indus and 4 wells in Makran. This will be the biggest price and biggest opportunity for Pakistan. If you look at the international operators around the world, the major focus of the IOEs are on the deep water because there's a big potential, big volume in offshore. Just to give you a flavor of what the volume means here, for the offshore shallow part of Pakistan, you need at least 2 TCF of gas to make it commercial. If you're looking at deep offshore of Pakistan, you need 5 TCF of gas minimum to develop in a commercial value. For last 1.5 years or more, there's a lot of focus from the government of Pakistan to push offshore bidding around and get things moving. Where we are in the curve, I think offshore studies been going for last almost a year and a half. Data integration, there's a lot of data in offshore because it's a big data. If you see on the right, there's the concept of data. The volume of data is very big. It's a big space to explore. We are also collaborating with different partners to have an engagement to bring them in Pakistan. For that, we are developing a business investment case, which drives a couple of drivers. So the business model of Pakistan Offshore is very unique in sense. Pakistan Offshore entails a lot of gas in the initial assessment case. If anybody operator finds a gas in Pakistan, Pakistan has the biggest market, biggest infrastructure of gas. So this is the biggest sell point for gas. If you see around the world, the bigger Central Asia and all that, they have gas, but there's no market. So our business case is very well established in a case that if you find gas, you have a market. So if for any operator to come in and sell the gas, it will be relatively easier. It's indigenous gas. A couple of work has been going on offshore team building, and I think bidding round is just around the corner. For that, there are a lot of activities being led by DGPC, and I think we are on the right track. I'll deep dive in the offshore, just to give you what offshore look like. So there are two transects laid out parallelly. On the top, you can see seismic section, which runs from onshore Pakistan to all the way offshore deep. It's about 700 kilometers from onshore to offshore. The bottom part represents a geoseismic section, which represents the possibility of finding hydrocarbons in different play types. So we start from the top. So the top is very interesting, seismic sections coming from land going over all the deep. So there are a couple of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pakistan Offshore has 3 plays to offer, and it's one of the unique basins around the world which has more than 2 plays. 1 and 4 are carbonate buildups. 4 had been tested by 2 wells, Pakan and Kekara, which was drilled in 2021. The play type 1 has not been tested yet. Play type 2 and 3 has been tested with a couple of wells. The interesting chart is at the below, which is the light blue and the dark blue ones. The light blue represents the shallow water and the dark blue represents the deep water. So it's interesting to know that our exploration offshore started in 1950, way back what we thought of. It's almost 70 years from now. We drilled 3 wells in 50s, 4 wells in 60s, 3 wells in 70s and 80s. Surprising to know that OGDC drilled a well which is called Park and 1, which flowed a gas in offshore, 3.7 million cubic feet of thermogenic gas, which proves that there's a hydrocarbon mature presence in offshore. Then after that, there was a sharp decline between the investment and the focus. So a couple of years went by without any activity. However, late 90s started a lot of 3D seismic data happening in offshore. And then for last 20 years, we have only drilled 3 wells. So I'll tell you a couple of stories around the world. So first story is from Namibia. Namibia is a similar basin like Pakistan. So it's the issue of source rock in Namibia. The block, Shell made a discovery. I used to work for Shell in 2009, 2010. We took a couple of blocks. I was the one who proposed the blocks, and it was drilled in 2021. They made a billion-barrel discovery, and now they have discovered about 4 billion barrels of oil. Let's take another example of Suriname and Guyana. Suriname and Guyana are the places which are unique in a sense because they have discovered about 20 billion barrels of oil in the last 5 years. The first discovery came in 2015 and then started going up. They were exploring for the last 35 years. The challenge we have today is that we need a dedicated plan to run this exploration. We go there, drill 1 well, and we get out. I think it's not the right way to do it because you lose all the knowledge, all the focus. So I think putting a campaign-based approach on these exploration projects will be a future. I think this slide got stuck. Yeah. So the third part, which is unconventional. I think unconventional, recently government has announced a policy which is welcome. For that, we have focused for the tight gas, industry has responded in terms how we will go through execution. We have come up with a 3 and 5 years plan, so we are doing a couple of frac wells in coming years, and OGDC is trying to do about 20 plus wells in next 3 years. That is a good news for industry because a lot of volumes are stuck. A lot of wells already drills are there in our portfolio, which can be frac and bring on production. However, the prices one challenge, and government has helped us in that, giving 40% premium on the 12th policy. The second part is shale gas. Shale gas, if you look at the numbers, the potential of shale gas of Pakistan, based on a couple of studies, is about 135 TCF of gas. If you can even do a 20% of that, which is about close to 25 TCF, it's a big number. So OGDC is running a pilot project. We have drilled a vertical fracs. The good news is that we have flowed the gas on surface. The next part we are doing is the horizontal well next year, which is a 15 stage of fracs, and that will give you a commercial value of shale gas. So once we establish the data, then there are two verticals. One is the cost and one is the production of these tight gas and the shale gas. That will help us to understand how the cost works. If you take an example of Argentina, America and China, the initial costs went down about 50% initially, and then it went down to 200% of well cost. So I think our current well costs are higher, and it will go down once we mature commercially. So I think coming to the converging on the key challenges we have put together two big areas of challenges. We are saying that I think the biggest challenge we have is the exploration and development cycles. The cycles are taking too long to reduce. The second is the UFC and UDC, unit finding cost of oil and unit development cost of oil, because Pakistan has been a challenge for us to bring technologies in Pakistan. And the last one is the technical resource development, which completes two parts of it, human resource and the capability of the service sector as well. So that part has been a challenge for us to deliver. The non-technical part is, first is security, because if you are moving to the mountains, security is one of the biggest costs we are hitting. Circular debt is the payments we need to get to do more exploration, because we invest in exploration to find more oil. And the ease of doing business to attract FDI. As I've shown you that if you want to drill 20 wells or 40 wells, the cost of per year will be $1 billion to $2 billion. I think Pakistan industry can bring $1 million on the surface, but $1 billion should come from the international operators. So that's one of the areas. And that brings me to the last slide, which is the way forward. I think the crossroad of change, we are at point in the history of exploration of Pakistan and sustainable energy. I think we need to have a comprehensive roadmap. We need to have all the stakeholders in one room and create a long-term and a short-term plan. I think that's one of the areas we need to work more. Second point, I have already mentioned that reducing the exploration and development cycle costs. Close collaboration with the operators as well, because the industry is facing multiple challenges, and I think the message to the government and the regulators and internationally has to be one message from all the operators. Sustainability and growth of these strategies, to put a right roadmap and a strategic model on those ones is one of the areas we would like to collaborate. Capability and human development, and the last one is the developing an ecosystem where we can bring investors in a E&P vertical. So I think the future for us to bring an attraction of FDI and to bring in more investment in the exploration part of the business and production, I think the couple of key leverage we have, we can help us. I think I will leave at the end that, is it possible to bring Pakistan indigenous gas? It is possible. If you are able to find a lot of hydrocarbons onshore and offshore, then it's a game changer for Pakistan. And it will also help the economy part of it. We are importing about 24 billion rupees dollars oil and gas, and it's increasing every year. So there's a forecast that in like 10 years, the import bill might reach to 40 billion if the oil prices remain the same. So I leave with the thought that the future of Pakistan is bright, and there's a lot of potential to be explored. And the same quote again, the future is in the belief of the beauty of your dreams. So we are dreaming as an explorer, and we look forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saghir, for an excellent presentation on onshore and offshore exploration potential. We will continue with the topic of exploration challenges, policies and innovations, and I would now request yet another experienced and industry expert, Director Exploration, Marine Petroleum Company Limited, Abdul Rauf Khan Saab, to give his presentation on the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Abdul Rauf Khan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Momin Aga, Secretary Petroleum Division, Managing Directors of esteemed organizations of E&P sector, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor for me and a privilege to talk to such an esteemed audience on this very important topic of energy challenge in Pakistan. This brings us together to talk about the opportunities as well as the critical challenges that we are facing up to. The agenda of the talk would be, okay, great. It's still not working. I think until this problem is sorted out. In Pakistan, we have seen a unique challenge because we rely mostly on imported energy as far as oil and gas is concerned. So the E&P sector has a greater responsibility to bridge this gap through exploration activities and significant findings. All right, so I'll go back to my agenda. So I'll start off with some international perspective, how we see energy landscaping recently, internationally. Then we'll talk about Pakistan's energy balance, energy outlook, finally some challenges with the MPCL's initiatives, and in the end, some takeaways. As we all know that fossil fuel has contributed a lot in the development of modern societies. It fueled the development of modern industries, and all that things that we are seeing today were not possible if we did not have the fossil fuels luxury in our economic balance. With time, we have seen that there were some growing concerns about the fossil fuels because usage comes up with some other responsibilities, and we have seen growing concerns about energy, about growing concerns about global warming and renewable energy scams which have been developed so strongly that there were some commitments which were made back in 2016 in Paris. Those were mainly for seeking the renewable resources and reducing our reliance on the fossil fuels. But that actually fizzled out very quickly because this reliance was so huge that it wasn't possible to have the transition in a shorter time and get another replacement in the form of the fossil fuels. If we look at this graph, we can see since Paris Agreement in 2016, some major banks have financed the major oil and gas organizations for the exploration, development, and exploitation of the oil and gas. Top 60 banks in total have financed about $7 trillion from 2016 till 2023. And that thing, only in 2023, we can see that $700 billion were invested in oil and gas sector. So keeping that in mind, since IEA also estimated that through 2040, we would still have 75% of reliance on fossil fuels. Having all that in mind, since Pakistan is relying mainly on the imports of the oil and gas, so we should base our policies, our strategies, so that we can have initial exploration successes in a way that we should bridge this gap and reduce this reliance in coming years. Next, if we look at another example, Farooq also touched upon bit of Namibia. If we see, okay, I can see my cursor. The Namibian offshore, there was a huge discovery last year by Galp Oil. It was 10 billion barrels of oil. That has actually changed the whole sense of the exploration across all the majors all around the world. The company which were thinking to strategize their policies in the future to just shift something to renewables have started to rethink. We have seen that after that discovery, everyone I think in this hall is aware of these tectonic plates. If we look at this map, it's just like a jigsaw puzzle. You can easily fit a Southern American plate into the African plate. This is millions of years of phenomena that these plates drifted apart. But the key thing in here is that with that drift, they also shared some subsurface. That is interesting thing. If we have a success at Namibian coast, that means that if it is a similar basin, which is on the other side of the coast across this Atlantic Ocean, in Uruguay, that means that a similar potential can be expected there. So what happens that after this exciting discovery, we have seen that the Uruguay offshore, it went from 0 to all occupancy under only 3 years. And most of the majors have committed a significant work program there. When you say that their commitment is there in oil and gas, that means that the Namibian offshore discovery will take 7 to 8 years to develop. Their first oil will come around 2032, and that will continue for decades. Over the Uruguay, if these majors, they'll start exploration, it will take 3 to 5 years to explore. Once they find their first success, that will be followed by 5 to 7 years because there is no infrastructure available to develop, and that will be followed by decades. So it means that the era of oil and gas will still there, and the industry will have a lot of its reliance on that. So this is very important for Pakistan because we'll still continue to have our reliance on imported energy. This is PIP, the estimated graph. If you look at that, our import bill in 2023 alone was $17.5 billion US. It is estimated that with time, it may increase 3.5 times in 20 years. We are trying to meet our needs from the local resources, but here I'd like your attention at the bottom bar, which is the local sources based on oil and gas. As an industry professional and the E&P industry, we have the responsibility that it is the decreasing trend when we see the years passing on. If we can shift this trend and with the new finds and significant discoveries, so that will be the contribution, and we can basically bridge the gap of the and lessen our reliance on the imported fuel. Pakistan exploration history, I won't take much time on this because Farooq Saab has already explained, but I'll just give a couple of key points on it. If we see that in the beginning when Sui and Mari HR were discovered, after that, it was a long time, like 20 years, there was no discovery. Then we can see that the curve is going to be crimming out, and there were some key discoveries in the Middle Indus Basin. We have Zamzama at that time, Kadanwari and all that. You can see also the number of wells which has increased. Then again, there was a 10 years time when we did not have any discovery. It again creamed out with the discovery in Tull block. And so this indicates that we have potential in the subsurface, and only we need to focus on exploration opportunities. And we have success, will not let this curve to cream out and increase our resource base. With this, I would like your attention on the last 10 years. If we look at this graph, this shows very interesting trend. Initial 6 years, if we see, the green bars are showing the number of wells drilled per year. With more number of wells, we had discovered 384 million barrels of oil, if you can see that. The last 4 years, with the lesser number of wells, 90 versus 197, we discovered more than that. What it is telling us, that with time, our approaches towards explorations have improved. We have improved understanding of the subsurface or basin evaluations, and that's a good news that in future, if we can maintain this trend, even with lesser wells, we can have bigger discoveries. In 2005, there was a detailed basin study conducted by OGDCL. It has indicated the resource numbers in all the basins. If you look at these bars, the gray bars are showing the resource potential estimated by the basin study, and the green bars are showing that since 2005 up till now, how many wells have been drilled and how much resource was discovered. So it's interesting to see that in the first one, which is the Cohart Basin, we see that we have discovered more than the double that the basin study predicted, which shows that maybe the basin studies, the numbers are a bit conservative, or we have extended our place, which in case in the recent discoveries is the yes, which was not envisaged in that basin study. That means there is a lot of potential which is there, but we need to find how can we do that by refining our processes, giving more attention to details, so we can do that. So 379 and the 1 billion barrels, that's a difference that after the activities. On the lower Indus Basin, again it's the same story. In the lower Indus Basin, which was very rich, again from that basin, the companies like BP, which is UEPL now, they had done extensive 3D over there, and they had discovered significant potential, and they crossed the number which was predicted in the basin study. On the other basins, we see there was not much activity. Although there is some activity, in the lower bar, you can see the number of wells. We see the maximum number of wells in the lower Indus. Then in the Cohart Basin and the other areas, the activity wasn't that big, which means that there is still huge potential waiting for us. We just need to look back and refine our approaches and see how can we discover that. In total, 14.6 billion barrels were predicted in the basin study, and until now, we have just discovered 1.8 billion barrels. With this message, again, there is a fresh basin study which is now being kicked off, and I appreciate DGPC for that. It's the initiative of DGPC, but this time, a consortium is sponsoring this study, and the purpose is to evaluate the remaining potential, using all the data which has been available so far, and identify new plays and provide recommendations for future exploration strategy. It will also help us to promote our domestic exploration and attract foreign investment. So hope this study will be concluded, inshallah, in 2 to 3 years' time. MPCL has taken some initiatives recently. I'll just mention few ones. MPCL recognizing that the exploration approaches are now changing worldwide. Previously, it was happening that you go in some area, you acquire some data, identify prospects, and go and drill. But then it was revealed that there are some risks which you cannot estimate unless you look at the entire basin. If you have the play level approach, to look at all the play fairway, then it is very difficult to basically envisage the entire risks and make your decisions wisely. So MPCL was very aggressive in expanding its exploration portfolio. which went from 16 to 34 blocks in last 3 to 4 years. So we are very much committed to expand our activities in those areas and find new oil and gas. Second was the continued efforts in frontier areas. Despite the challenges, MPCL was committed and it continued, especially in KP and Balochistan, which was tough, not in the way that is the subsurface challenges are there, but the surface plus the security challenges, they were huge enough to hinder our activities, but MPCL remained steadfast and continued their operations there. This is another initiative that MPCL taken inside the organization. We realized that the normal approach may not be very helpful in finding big discoveries. So therefore, we changed our workflows, and now our major focus is the play-based exploration, as you can see in this pyramid, the middle one, and that actually gives us the entire inventory of the leads and the prospects that go into the funnel generation process, and then the best ones are selected for drilling, which has paid us off. In the last 3 to 4 years, we have 2 significant discoveries. One is the Gazij, which was previously considered as a cap rock. It wasn't a reservoir rock. But the discovery, the evaluation has suggested that there are some thin reservoir limestone beds, which revealed the huge potential in a mature field like Mari. Therefore, now we have concluded that the potential is not only in the frontier areas or the growth areas, but also in the mature areas. If you just pay attention to more detail, you dwell into the deeper understanding of the reservoir, rocks, and the basin, you can still make discoveries there. Shiva was another discovery, which was the play extension discovery, which has basically extended the play which was already discovered towards the western borders. Now let's look at some challenges which we think as an industry we need to address. The first one, I think Farooq Sahab also touched, the technology gap. We think that there are some technologies which, if are available in Pakistan, which can help us to get more data and speed up our activities, which are not available at this point in time. I have listed some few, I won't go into the detail. And the next is access to R&D. For any project, if we need to go in detail or we just need to just go for a little advanced analysis, we have to go out. We have to approach to the R&D centers and the powerhouses of all the processing and labs, everything. So we need to just consult them and get our jobs done. So that's the flip side of this, is that we cannot develop indigenous resources and develop them in a way that they can provide us services in-house. So we may need to think that how can we do that? Maybe it should be also initiated at the academia level, and with the academia and the industry, both can work together to maybe fill this gap. Cost versus scale. In some areas where the cost of find is big enough that it cannot be commercialized, especially in the central Indus basins and frontier areas, if our discovery size is less, it is very difficult to bring that on production, despite it has the potential, but if it is not commercially viable, so it's not possible to bring that on production. Foreign exchange is another issue. We all know about it. It affects us in a way that it delays our projects and delays the timelines. And I fear that if it continues for long, it may pose a challenge of imaging. So joint venture, the only aspect that I would like to address here is that the play-based understanding is only possible if we look at the entire play, not the blocks that each company is having. If we share our data and share our findings, our learnings, our risks, then we can make better decisions. Security is another challenge. We talked about supportive policy framework. I just talked about one policy. Previously, it was the first right of refusal. that means that the companies who spend much time on carving out the different blocks and then apply for that, that's not there when it comes to the bidding round, so everyone has the equal opportunity to bid against it. That actually discouraged the organizations to have the new venture set up in their teams, because if they invest on it, they just spend a lot of time on it. We request to DGPC and the ministry if you can revoke that policy. I think that will be helpful. In the end, I just recap. We have seen that the recent discoveries reveal significant untapped potential, not only in the frontier areas, but also in the mature basins. So we need to focus on that. Maybe we need to have a fresh look on our exploration strategies. Prioritize energy sector for foreign payments. I've discussed inspiring innovation. We need to develop our human resource in-house, and so that we should not rely much on the international consultants. National pool of resources, this is just an idea that, like the basin study, which was a very good initiative of DGPC, we suggest that similarly, if we can have a national pool where we can have the shared business outline for the solution providers, they can easily make their business case and bring the technology in-house. If we can look into that, then we don't have to wait for long to bring that technology. In the end, just I would like to conclude that since all the stakeholders are available here, from the ministry, regulatory, service providers, E&P companies, if we work together jointly and share our knowledge and ideas together, focusing only one agenda, I think the success cannot be stopped, and inshallah we'll bridge the gap of national energy gap, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for a very well-rounded and insightful presentation on MPCL initiatives. And now we are honored to have with us Muhammad Zahir Alam Saab, Vice President Technical, UEP, to further dilate on the topic of exploration challenges, policies, and innovations. A huge round of applause for Mr. Zahir Alam.
Honorable Chief Guest, delegates, and friends and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. The benefit of coming at the end of the same topic is a lot of stuff already covered by the people who have gone before you, and you can focus on some of the key points that you would like to focus on. So without dwelling too much into the stuff that has already been presented, I'll go straight away into some of the stuff that I thought probably we can focus on as a group today. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Okay. I won't spend a lot of time here. We have already talked quite a bit of it. I would only like to really like you to focus on the fact that the two areas that has been more worked upon, this is Lower Indus, Middle Indus Basin and Port Har Basin. They only cover about 14% of our sedimentary basin. And 85% of the activities that have been done have been focused on in these two mature basins. Altogether, this activity in these basins have reached a maturity level where we don't expect to see major discoveries going forward. We might really see the continuity of the same kind of field size that we have already discovered, but not the kind of discoveries that would transform the landscape. This screaming curve, Sahir has already talked, Farooq has already talked about, and this number is more like if you take the same distribution of field size, the average field size that we have already discovered, what you expect is get another 2.5 billion barrels of oil in next 2040. So I think that less than 100 wells have been drilled in the if you look at this map, that shows that in the Four Belt area, there's hardly any activity. And even in Kohat Basin, Kohat Bannu Basin, the activity is restricted towards the eastern part of the Kohat Bannu Basin. Western part and the central part has not really been that extensively explored. So where to focus? Where is the growth space for exploration? I think my other colleagues have already talked about. This is the kind of Kohat Basin, Kohat Bannu Basin, and Kirthar Fold Belt, and the on the onshore area, the Suleiman Fold Belt areas. These are the growth spaces that we have in the country, where we have proven petroleum system and the effort that would really yield a bigger fields. So talking about Kohat Bannu Basin, on the low side, if we really continue doing the kind of same activity, the creaming curve suggests that on the low side, we might really be getting only 0.6 billion barrel equivalent. But on the high side, it could be going up to 1.5 billion barrel. And this is not arbitrary number. This is based on the size of the structure that we have seen. The normal field distribution only restricting to the eastern part would not really take you there. You have to really have access to the entire western part of the Kohat Basin, Kohat Bannu Basin, for you to be able to see this number. The other thing I like to really point out is, for you to really get those things, you need to go deeper, which is going to be more expensive and more challenging. The discoveries that we have already seen in Kohat Bannu Basin, we have to go to the second plate or the third plate for us to really get those discoveries. Talking about Kirthar and Suleiman Fold Belt, again, as I mentioned earlier, the activity was more like on the eastern front of this basin, not in the middle central part of it or the western part of it. So we need to focus on that area, and that might really get us another 2 billion if we go and drill this bigger structure in there. Otherwise, on the low side, it would be like another 0.5 kind of a billion barrel equivalent that might really be able to discover. The other thing that I would like to highlight is these are the kind of proven plays that you're talking about. If you really go and drill deeper, as I said, the Jurassic Isle, this is a possibility that we can really get. The beauty of this area is you have very low drilling density in this. That means that only one well has been drilled in 2,000 square kilometers. And in this area, the block size is only 2,000 square kilometer or 2,500 square kilometer. The thought that comes to the mind is, when you really run the play-based exploration strategies, these block size is relatively smaller. So if you want to really expand this, you might really have to expand the horizon, might really have to go for the bigger license areas, or you got to go for exclusive reconnaissance permit over the bigger area. And that's probably going to really help us go and focus on the big transformative stuff early in the exploration history. Talking about offshore is a very interesting proposition. Our offshore have been drilled for the last, as Farooq talked, for the last 50, 60 years. We haven't really got much of a joy around this, but there are multiple plays. When you talk about plays, they are more like the Cretaceous plays that we talk about. We talk about the Eocene carbonate built-ups. We talk about the Oligocene, Miocene shelf delta turb and the deep water turbidites, channel levee systems like the stuff that is sitting here, and the toe thrust kind of thing. And then this isolated carbonate mound on the volcanic house, like the Kekra stuff that has been drilled here. The bigger challenge here is that we don't know the petroleum system so far, particularly with respect to the source rock and its migration and charge into this structure. The source rock story cannot really be understood unless we really go and drill deeper wells. So we need to really think as to how we can really help people go and drill deeper wells. And that is only possible if we really have a play-based exploration strategy adopted for the offshore. 2,000 square kilometer or 2,500 square kilometer areas cannot really help you run an exploration-based strategy, the play-based exploration strategy where you need a wider leg room to be able to focus on the sweet spots. When we talk about offshore, we don't really have commercial discovery, we only have a sub-commercial discovery where we have thermogenic hydrocarbon presence confirmed, and that was Parken. But we do have the analogs coming from other international discoveries. The East African discoveries that we have seen during the last 10-15 years, they confirm presence of large-size gas discoveries on the eastern margin of East Africa. And the discovery that British Gas made in 2010, 11, 12, and those discoveries had opened up this Upper Cretaceous play, which was multi-TCF play that helped transform the potential of the eastern margin of East Africa. So if we really do the reconstruction at the time, like at the early Cretaceous time, the Indian plate was butted against the East Africa. We enjoyed the similar kind of a geology. And subsequently, when late Cretaceous, the plate that really got proven up in East Africa had the similar kind of geological environment on the eastern side, the western side of the Indian plate. So this stuff that really got discovered on the eastern side of Africa, we expect to see similar kind of stuff, and we see some signs of this on the seismic that is available on the western shelf edge of the Indus Delta. So there is a possibility that we get the extension of the same proven play, which is successful in the East Africa, in Pakistan as well. So I think this is kind of like the technical part of the story. I'll move on to something that might really be not talked about, and I might really spend a bit more time on this. So this is a graph that takes us from gas production from 1972 up to 2022. And this is the graph that really talks about the primary energy mix. You could see gas has been playing a dominant role in our energy mix. At one point in time, it was close to 50% of our primary energy mix. Now it is probably like 36, 37% of our primary energy mix. But the interesting take on this is, if I take the Sui and Mari out, which is more like the bottom part, these are the kind of other discoveries that are coming. And if we distribute these discoveries in pre-94 discoveries like Kadanbari, Kadirpur, and Loti, Pirko, all those discoveries, they are in this gray bar. And then you talk about this 1994 discoveries, the Petroleum Policy 1994, and this is Petroleum Policy 2001, and this last one is Petroleum Policy 2012. So if you look at this, we, after getting the peak of like 4.2 BCF a day, are on the downhill. And that downhill corresponds with the dwindling production coming from 1994 petroleum policy discoveries. And if you try to understand what happened, my take on this is, we had two events that happened in 2001 that really reshaped the exploration landscape in the country. What happened there was 9/11, and the other one was we capped the gas price under 2001 policy at $36. And that was not well received. when we really brought this up, all the people who were already in the exploration business, they continue with their existing project, and they left after they really got the first opportunity available to them. So before 2001, before 94, the 2001 policy, there were about like 40 foreign companies working in Pakistan. There are 4 now. And if you ask a question, what happened, why they left, they only monetized the stuff that they discovered under 1994. The moment they started going downhill, and they sold it off and moved forward. So essentially, one big policy decision that probably had a big time impact on our exploration landscape was us capping the in 2001 the gas price at $36. So when we really do those decisions, we probably don't realize their impact coming immediately. Their impact might really come few years down the line, and that's what we see. We kept on seeing the gas production going up and up and up, and not really seeing any immediate downside of it. But few years down the line, like 14, 15 years down the line, we start seeing the impact of it. And the other thing that is important to also note is, we introduced 2012 policy. We haven't implemented it as yet to the fuller extent because of various reasons, including WLO. The needle hasn't moved as yet. There's hardly any production that is getting 2012 policy price right now. So this is where I think we need to focus. If we bring out a policy and we don't implement it, it would not really bring the result that we like to really bring out. So implementation of the policy, if we don't do it, is no good, and probably the industry take the view that is different than what the policy formulator might really intended to really get out of it. So when we talk about the affordability, we survived the 1994 policy price. Nothing happened. Everybody was getting the payment made, but now, when you have the petroleum policy price, which is under 2012, we have a huge circular debt that has built up. And the foreign companies, as well as the domestic companies, they have outstanding receivable mounting, and they are not small money, they are a significant sum of money. So this has been caused not because of the domestic gas, this is caused because of the LNG that is being imported right now. So another thing that I would like to really talk about is, for us to really make a kind of significant change in the exploration landscape, we need to have these foreign investors back. It's not that they would do something magic about it. We need their risk investment, and we need to learn from their international experience. And we need to also learn from their new and innovative technology and ideas. It's the question of all about how to really put those ideas into play in Pakistan. That's what really transformed Pakistan landscape in 90s when they really brought those ideas. The stratigraphic discoveries that were made in the Middle Indus Basin that really gave us significant breakthrough. These were the ideas that were brought in and that were put in play. This seems like a similar story, as it seemed like our offshore story. If you're really doing it, like Pakistan, Shell also discovered in 19. They also on wells, the high pressures, the mechanical problems, and the wells not going down to the TD, and eventually Exxon made a discovery, Liza discovery in 2015, and so far 11 billion barrels of reserve have been discovered, and right now, if you look at this, they are producing 0.6 million barrels a day of oil right now, and they are exporting about something like close to 0.5 or close to 0.5, and they plan to really go to 1.2 million barrels by 2027. So essentially, the GDP of Guyana, that was about 15 million barrels in 2020. It is now 63 billion barrels, $63 billion. And the per capita has reached $27,000 per person, $270,000 per person. So this is kind of landscape that has been changed in Guyana. And if you look at this, Starbuck is a huge block. It's a huge block. It's about 26,000 square kilometers. So discoveries are located mostly on the southeastern corner of this. But Exxon ran exploration-based play strategy for the entire block and found a sweet spot in this area. So that's what I was talking about earlier as well. So going into what need to be done, it's very expensive to work in Kohat Banu Basin, Suleiman Fortberg, and Keter Fortberg. It's about like 5 times more expensive. So we need to really see as to how we can bring the cost down and how we really bring the time down, the cycle time of this investment. Offshore, technically we believe is doable, and commercially is doable, but it's very challenging. But there are good examples internationally where we can really work this piece and transform this. In these blocks, where if you really want to drill 25 wells per year in onshore, high risk upfront capital is required, and that's about $500 million to $1 billion a year. That is not available locally. It has to really come from outside somewhere where you really get this kind of money available. So new technology deployment, I think people are talking about trying to understand the subsurface better. Bottoms-up evaluation, where this is again the play-based thing that I talked about. And the geopolitical environment, I didn't talk about the geopolitical environment, but for us, the people who are already doing the investment in the country, liquidity is one of the key issues. If we don't have the liquidity, even these players cannot really do much about this. So they need to really be getting paid. The companies with the kind of financial muscles and the technology, like HTHP, deep water drilling, they need to be focused on. And we need to think as to how we can rework our policies to allow exclusive RP over wider area, revive open door policy for the exploration blocks award, and ensure stability and implementation of the policies and sanctity of the agreement. Talking about my preference is that we go for the compliance regime rather than the control regime, and we need to really look at the industry issues with an open mind. Timely decision making, that is one of the areas that we need to focus on, and the settlement on some of the issues that impact the industry. That would really create a kind of positive vibe. So local stakeholder management, that is another area that we need to focus on, and safety and security of the people working on the project in these areas. That is another area that we need to focus on. These are the few thoughts that I have. If you have any question, I'll be happy taking those questions. I know I presented some of the things that might really be controversial to some of the people, but I'll be happy taking the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alam, for a very detailed yet informative presentation. Our next speaker is yet another industry veteran, Mr. Adil Khattak, CEO, Attak Refinery Limited. He will take on a topic entitled Pakistan's Refinery Sector, Challenges and Opportunities. I would like to welcome onto the stage Mr. Adil Khattak. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I think the Secretary Sahib has already left, but I'm glad to see Masroor Sahib here, Chairman Ogra, so at least someone would be here to listen to us and maybe pass on what we are talking about to the government. Anyway, my topic is mentioned as about the refining sector. So I'll be briefly talking about general things about the refining sector, the challenges we are faced with, and the refinery upgradation policy we keep hearing about for the last 4 or 5 years, and then the opportunities in the refining sector. So we have these 5 refineries in Pakistan. Parco is of course there, commissioned in year 2000 and have been regularly upgrading the refinery since then. Attic refinery happens to be the oldest, commissioned as early as 1922, more than 100 years. But again, we have been regularly upgrading the refinery, and the original plant is now placed in the refinery museum which we have. National Refinery is another refinery also owned by the Attic Group in Karachi, commissioned in 1966. They have also been regularly upgrading, and the latest upgradation was in 2021 when they increased their capacity. Pakistan Refinery again came up in early 60s, and the last upgrade they did was in 2015 when they added an ISOM unit. Synergico, previously named as BICO, they have 2 units commissioned in 2004 and 2015. They've also done some upgradation projects. The total capacity is 449,000 barrels per day, which equates to about 20 million tons per annum. To give you an idea of the location of the refineries, 3 of the refineries are located near Karachi or in Karachi, namely NRL, PRL, and Synergico. Parco is what we call mid-country refinery, so located in Muzaffargarh near Multan. And Attic refinery happens to be the only refinery in the north of Pakistan. The importance, the refinery sector plays a strategic role. Of course, it has its own strategic importance and provides 50% of the total annual demand of petroleum products. So currently, we have the capacity to produce about 30% of our motor gasoline or petrol requirement and 50 to 60% of our diesel requirement. We meet almost 100% of our jet fuel requirement, and overall it's we can say about 50% of the total demand. Strategic, I've already mentioned. Significant contribution to GDP. So like last year, the refineries contributed almost 500 billion rupees in terms of taxes and levies to the government. Import substitution, of course, because we are almost contributing in a way about $1 billion per annum in terms of import substitution. The current local crude production is about 70,000 barrels per day. The last point is that in a way the refinery provides a little bit comfort at the port infrastructure, which is very limited, and currently we have a serious constraint on that account also. Because when you import crude as compared to products, if you go for import of products, you need at least 4 to 5 different types of products. So it creates a big challenges on the ports. So the total fuel production consumption as of last year is about 17 million tons. Couple of years back, it touched about 20 million tons. That was mainly because of the furnace oil, which has drastically gone down. And production from indigenous crude is only 2.74, which is, in terms of percentage is only 16%. So from the local production, currently we are meeting only 16% of our total demand. This graph shows sort of the gap between the supply and demand position. So like case of motor gasoline, currently last year, the gap was about 5.37 million tons per annum. As I mentioned earlier, we produce about 30% of our motor gasoline locally and 70% is imported. In terms of diesel, the gap is 2.47 million tons per annum. Again, as you can see, the demand has gone down, in fact, last year, for various factors, one of which is smuggling from Iran. I'll be talking more about that aspect later on. Fuel oil, as you know, it has gone drastically down the last 3 years, because it was the main consumer was the power plants, which were run on fuel, furnace oil, and almost all of them are shut now because of higher cost of fuel. So the demand for furnace oil has drastically gone down, which is presenting quite a few challenges to the refinery sector. This shows the position of the local crude production. So as you can see, I think 14-15 was the year when we touched the highest point, which was almost 100,000 barrels per day. And subsequently, it has been going down. But it's based on the presentation made earlier before me on the upstream sector, we have some hopes that ultimately, inshallah, it will increase. Coming to the challenges which we are facing in the refining sector. As all of you know, it's a very highly capital-intensive sector, and it presents a very low return on equity, normally. And there is a need for consistent upgradation because of the consistent or frequent changes in specifications. So I remember the days when Pakistan, we were producing leaded petrol in Pakistan. And there used to be one grade 80 RON petrol, which used to be called regular grade. Then we kept on increasing, lead was taken off, and then the RON kept increasing. So currently the imported petrol is based on Euro 5 standards, and 95 RON is also coming. The refineries are supposed to produce 91, 92 RON. So because of the frequent changes specifications, there is always a need for upgradation of the refineries. As I mentioned, local crude is available in only a limited quantity. On the policy sector, the last time the policy was announced is as early as 1997, which is almost 26 years back. And we have been talking with the government, working on various options, and I'll be touching upon the refinery policy, which has recently been improved. And the prices, the volatility is so much in the price of both crude and products. Last decade or so, it has been more dependent on the geopolitical situation rather than any policy or demand or supply situation. So it's totally beyond our control. And last but not the least, the minimum